Did somebody say playoffs?
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, check me out, RyanClary11, and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. Not once, but twice. We are plugging those Twitters account here. Later on in today's show, well, actually, before that, let me say this. You can find Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast. I'm getting too excited to talk about this team. Again, search Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast. Again, including over on YouTube. Hit that subscriber button for me as well. And of course, while you're at it, just search up Locked On Nationals. Hit that subscriber button. Drop a comment. Drop a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whatever you may choose. I will support your decision. Later on in today's show, Mackenzie Gore got scratched from today's chart. Oh my God. He did not do that. He got scratched from today's start because of a fingernail issue. He'll be starting on Friday. So that is tomorrow at home against the Marlins now. We'll have that discussion. And now, Patrick Corbin, it's your time. You got to go in, try to get this series win. And of course, the Nationals go for the sweep against the Tigers, try to win 6 straight games. This has been the first time the Nats have won 5 straight since. I'll tell you a little bit later on in today's show. But second segment, Jake Irvin, he deserves his own segment. Talk about his start yesterday. And of course, even furthermore than that, I think you and myself sleep on Jake Irvin. And the Nationals, I think it's starting to talk about extension time for Jake Irvin. We're in that season already, and it is June 13th of 2024, his second season up in the bigs. Get Jake Irvin an extension. I'll make that case for it in the second segment of today's show. But we start off with talking about last night's win against the Detroit Tigers. It got a little tricky there, but the Nationals did pull it off, and we'll have that discussion. And of course, CJ Abrams, you're back. Today's episode of the Locked On Nationals is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Did you know that it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and get help from a team of licensed tax professionals. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. And we start off today's show talking about yesterday's big win against the Detroit Tigers. Again, that makes it 5 straight wins for the Washington Nationals, for our Washington Nationals. And what did you do with our team? Who are these players that are playing so damn well right now? And what is going on, quite frankly? Because, again, I talked about this in the cold open there. Did somebody say playoffs? I don't know if you're aware right now. You probably are if you're watching a Nationals podcast, but if you aren't, this Washington Nationals team is now 1 game out of a wild card spot in the middle of June. This is the first time they have even been close to contending since probably this time in 2021. And if, let's be honest, if the Nationals never made that Juan Soto trade, we would not be in this position right now. Let me remind you this. The Nationals were 71-91 just last year. 91 losses. Not a very good team. If you lose 90 plus games, you're not a very good ball club. Now, the Nationals, I do think, were a lot better than what the record indicated there, especially in the second half. The Nationals did get a little bit hot. Ultimately, they ended September awfully, if you remember that correctly. Stone Garrett got injured against the Yankees over at Yankee Stadium. And more importantly, the Nationals' offense and really the pitching just fell off. Jake Irvin was put on the shelf. Cade Cavalli never came back from Tommy John surgery. Was never the expectation. But still, the Nationals, it was just not a good feel. It was not a good end to the season. Now, going into this year, I expected a better version of the Nationals. Did I expect them to be this good? No. Now going on to the season, the Nationals are 32-35 on the year on June 13th. That is a win. That is a huge win for not just this season as a whole, but for all these younger pieces. The Nationals, we have been in this tank mode for over the last few years, really since 2021 when you sold off Trey Turner and Max Scherzer. And then after that, you sold off Juan Soto and as well as Josh Bell in 2022. The Nationals, you're starting to see their head kind of break the surface a little bit. You're starting to see them come up out of that grave and no longer be that skeleton of the past. This is a real team now. This is a real team that teams are going to have to circle on their calendar. And even then, looking beyond all the good things that have happened this year, this has just been a fun watch. Watching this team last night, watching the growth of all your young players has been a huge stepping stone into trying to contend. The Nationals have not been contenders, again, probably since 2019, if we're being honest. You enter 2020, you're the defending champs in a 60-game season. You do expect the Nationals to be better, but still, you lost Anthony Rendon. You lost a lot of key pieces from that 2019 team. And more importantly, you just haven't really contended. You were never really going to contend in 2021. They did try that. They tried to go after Kyle Schwarber, which paid off in a huge way, but ultimately hurt his hamstring, then was traded at the deadline alongside Max Scherzer and your star shortstop with Trey Turner. But now as the Nationals kind of flip into this next chapter, you have to think to yourself, this future is so damn bright. It just is. And at the forefront of it, probably the shiniest piece that we have at this point in time that you see every single day at coming at one of the more important positions in all of baseball is your shortstop, CJ Abrams. CJ Abrams launched his 11th home run last night. It took him until August to hit his 11th just last year. He hit 18 home runs in 2023, which in my opinion, that was not going to come for quite some time. We always look at CJ Abrams and say, well, he's got a lot of kind of the similarities that Trey Turner has. He's a solid hitter, really a contact hitter, not a power hitter. It took Trey Turner a few years to get to that 18 home run mark. In fact, it took him until 2018 when it was about his third season up in the majors. Really fourth, if you look at it that way. CJ Abrams now has 11 home runs on the year, and if you watch his home runs, these aren't just balls that are, just barely getting over the wall. That was a 404-foot blast off a curveball yesterday. Now, was it hung? Absolutely. But still, 11 home runs on the season in mid-June for CJ Abrams. He's going to have a 2020 season, obviously, at this point. I would expect more stolen base from him, especially from a team that, just by the way, reached a milestone yesterday, which hasn't been set since 2009. This is what Spencer Newsbaum from the Washington Post had to say about this. The Nationals reached 100 stolen bases in game 68 last night. That was the fastest to that mark since the 2009 Rays. You might be asking, well, what was the 2009 Rays team like? They didn't make the postseason, but still, that is an impressive feat. And this Nationals team, going into this season, Davey Martinez talked about it all spring training long. He wanted to be more aggressive on the base path. He wanted to see guys kind of be more aggressive and also just be smarter overall. That is what this Nationals team has done. Now, they also lead the league in caught stealing. Maybe at times they've been too aggressive, which is fine. You see guys like Jesse Winker stealing bags, which he just hasn't done throughout his career. He now has 10-plus stolen bases on the season. You see Lane Thomas being ultra aggressive on the base path. You haven't really seen that over the last few seasons, but he has obviously stepped up his game in that department. I don't know who really to credit at this point. Gerardo Parra has kind of played a big role in that, but also Davey Martinez as well. As much as we want to kind of, take the load off Martinez and kind of blame him for a lot of the different things that have gone on over the last few years and the things that really haven't gone right for this team over the last few seasons, Davey Martinez, one thing to credit him is the base running. You see the difference. You see it every single game now. This Nationals team, if you were to put pressure on pitchers the way that the Nationals do day in and day out, the pressure that you add to those pitchers and even the bullpen and even the coaching staff breathing it down their pitcher's neck the entire time, saying, you got to watch this team. They're going to run on you. They're fast. They can steal bases. Yeah, they might be a little bit too aggressive, but still, you take that focal point away from the hitter, away from Jesse Winker, away from CJ Abrams, because you have Lane Thomas or Jacob Young on the base path saying, this guy's going to steal, watch out. You have multiple things to think about now. Baseball, I've always believed in this. It is a mind game at the end of the day. And the way that this Nationals team kind of plays that mind game, there's no team in baseball that can compare to it at this point. Really, that's truly what it's like. And some people kind of look past that. I don't. That is a mind game. It is a mind-grueling sport. Baseball is a tough game. And you go out there and you continue to just run your damn butts off at this point. It's an impressive feat. And again, give David Martinez the credit. He said going into this season, I want to see smarter base running. I want to see more aggressive base running. And they've done both those things to the T. Now with this Nationals team, if we're talking about CJ Abrams, who's been the focal point, again, 6-game hit streak for CJ Abrams. 6 of his last 7 hits are extra base hits. Has a 692 slug in that time frame as well. A couple home runs to add on as well. This has just been a fun watch. And again, the Nats, they're pitching. Unbelievable. We will talk about Jake Irvin's start. And of course, Jake Irvin, it is time to start talking about a contract extension. I said it. I'll say it again. It's time to start talking about a contract extension. So we'll tell you about Jake Irvin and what he did yesterday. But before we get into it, let me tell you guys about our friends over at PrizePicks. And guys, PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It is the most fun, exciting way to get on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats for a shot up to win up to 100 times your cash. And with PrizePicks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a PrizePicks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stats, projections, and you're locked in. If you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has got you covered every week, from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays, which increases your chance of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Get on the daily action with your friends. Become part of the PrizePicks community today. Maybe you want to go more goals on Connor McDavid tonight in the Stanley Cup final. Maybe you want to go less on it. You can do that with our friends over at PrizePicks. Or maybe you want to look at baseball. CJ Abrams day game today. Maybe you go more hits for him as well, or less, whatever you do. But CJ Abrams has been the hot hitter lately, so I'd probably advise not going less on that. All you have to do is download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Now, let me tell you guys about some of our very good friends as well over at Policygenius. And guys, a lot of life is unpredictable, but a good life insurance plan gives your family a financial safety net to protect against some of the unknowns. Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It makes choosing the right policy for your family easy and quick. And with Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. And of course, I've gotten some positive feedback from the listeners and how helpful that they have been. Of course, Policygenius, they are there for you. And of course, I've got parents who are older right now. They need to start looking into this, and they have with Policygenius, and they love the way that they have showed effort in return. And of course, I love that for you guys as well. So Policygenius helps you easily compare your options from America's top insurers in just a few clicks. Their award-winning agents can even walk you through the process step by step. And your work life insurance policy may not offer you enough protection for your family's needs. Even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. So get peace of mind by finding the right life insurance with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com or click the link in the description and get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com. Again, that is policygenius.com. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And Jake Irvin, it is your time to shine. But later on in today's show, Patrick Corbin, you're back. Are you going to get the sweep against the Tigers? It was going to be Mackenzie Gore against Casey Mize, a pretty damn good pitching matchup. But now it's Patrick Corbin. Maybe. I don't know. We'll talk about that in the third segment. So that's coming up next in just a few minutes. Stay tuned for that. But now it's time for Jake Irvin. You get your own segment. When you've been pitching the way that you have been, you're going to get talked about a lot here on Locked On Nationals. And now, Jake Irvin, I think it's time to start talking about not even just a contract extension, but how good is Jake Irvin? Like, we know he's a good pitcher. We know that he's going to be in the starting rotation for hopefully the next 6+ years. That's the hope at this point. But Jake Irvin now, it's starting to become the conversation of, oh, well, we already know that he's a legit pitcher. But is Jake Irvin the best pitcher on this starting staff right now? It's not that crazy. And even then, you look at his numbers. One thing that I really value, and it's not just me, it's also Mike Rizzo, the president of baseball operations here. If you remember the signs down in spring training, we don't care how fast you throw ball 4. A lot of people that ruffled some feathers with. They walked a ton of batters last year. This year, including Jake Irvin, not that many. So far, Jake Irvin is in top 10 in all of baseball in walks per 9 with 1.66 walks per 9. He is number 9 in all of baseball again. You've got names like Jack Flaherty in front of him, other big-time kind of Cy Young contending guys who are in this scenario. Now, if you're talking about Jake Irvin, one thing that always hindered him throughout the minors was, number one, he did have Tommy John. He had some surgery there, and that kind of put him under the board there for a little, kind of had his time frame of coming up to the majors fall off a little bit because he was 26 when he got up to the majors, which is a little bit older. But still, the way that he has pitched and the way that he has continued to pitch over time has been unbelievable. Right now, over his last 9 starts, really the one start where he got rocked around in April, and this dates back to April 28th against the Marlins. Over his last 9 starts, 53 1/3 innings pitched, a 2.19 ERA, a 3.26 fielding independent pitching, and only 13 earned runs in that time frame. And also, while we're at it, when we're talking about walks, only 8 walks over his last 9 starts. That is the most impressive feat, in my opinion. You've seen this time and time again. If you look at his game logs over the course of June and May, you're not going to see many 3 earned run performances. It's a lot of 2 earned runs, and it's a lot of 0 earned runs. The way that Jake Irvin pitching now is, forget the part where he's going to be a starter for quite some time now. He's going to be one of the guys. He could be the guy. That's the point that we got to start hitting here on Locked On Nationals, and I got to start hitting that a little bit more. That's what I see now when Jake Irvin is out there. The confidence, the composure that he has up there. And also, he's an easy guy to root for. Because again, when you talk about this Nationals team and what has really just kind of set them back over the years, it's been the starting pitching. Jake Irvin is no longer part of that equation. He has been one of the focal points of this team in 2024, and you're going to continue to see him be that guy for this team. He now has a 3.00 ERA on the season. And again, I think an ERA is kind of an inflated stat, but it gives you a good kind of mind of where a guy is. Jake Irvin is dominant at this point. Mike Rizzo, we talk about guys to get extensions for. CJ Abrams is at the forefront of that, in my opinion. I think you need to lock up a 23-year-old who is showing to be a superstar at this point. But Jake Irvin is right behind him. May even be right there at the forefront with CJ Abrams at this point, and they could be tied. Jake Irvin should be getting a contract extension. If I'm Mike Rizzo right now, if you can't get it done with Abrams, in which the Nationals reportedly have tried to get CJ Abrams to sign an extension, they have been in talks with his agency, start looking at Jake Irvin too. And again, some people might say, well, let's kind of wait because it's June 13th. Maybe this has been a little bit flawed. I don't really think so at this point. The track record of success of Jake Irvin, it's been a while, man. This guy continues to go out there every 5 days and continues to be a consistent, valuable starter for this team. Now, what would the terms look like on an extension at this point? I don't know. Maybe 6 years, $90 million at this point. I don't know what Jake Irvin could command at this point. But one thing is for sure, if I'm Mike Rizzo, you have to go out there and at least try at this point. You have to. You know what the knock has been on for this organization for quite some time. You can't keep your stars in your building. You can't keep your homegrown talent in this building. You can't develop starting pitching. Well, Jake Irvin, you've developed him. Now it's time to extend him. He deserves that at this point. The Nationals, you need some sort of consistency in this starting rotation. There is nobody more consistent than Jake Irvin in this rotation, including a Mackenzie Gore, including a Trevor Williams at this point. There has been nobody better in the Nationals rotation. And really, I've been saying it all year, Mackenzie Gore is the ace of the staff. I think we could start recalibrating that idea. And that's not a knock on Mackenzie Gore. I think Mackenzie Gore's got the best stuff on this team, and really it's not that close. But Jake Irvin continues to get results, and the results aren't good, they're great. Jake Irvin, he's your second best starting pitcher on this staff. If not your second best, probably your first best. Jake Irvin, you should be at Washington National for quite some time. And if I'm Mike Rizzo, if I'm Davey Martinez, I am looking at the Lerner family and saying, we got to lock this guy up. While it's cheaper now, because as he continues to pitch better and better and deeper into ball games, number one, Scott Boras will be lining up at that door real quick, and he'll be trying to get him on his team just with the way that he has been pitching. If I'm Mike Rizzo, you got to lock up Jake Irvin. He deserves it. It's beyond all that. What he did yesterday in the ball game, Jake Irvin, man, just unbelievable. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, check us out over on YouTube. Just search Locked On Nationals there. That is where you'll find your latest Nationals video content. And of course, check us out. Hit that subscriber button as well. Now, let's talk about today's game. Patrick Corbin on the bump. Will he get it done? We'll have to see. But before that, let me tell you guys about our friends over at Tax Network USA. And guys, here on Locked On Nationals, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs, and it's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. And of course, with over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt, whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing. So all you have to do is call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. Again, visit tnusa.com/lockedon or call 1-800-549-1000. See the link in this episode description below. Again, check the link out and our friends over at Tax Network USA. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And while today was going to be a very good pitching kind of matchup here, not really that much anymore with Patrick Corbin on the bump. Mackenzie Gore will now be starting in tomorrow's game. He's got a fingernail issue, and I don't want to say it's been a blister issue, because last year, if you remember, he did have blister issues over the course of the season. That is a very not great issue for a pitcher. Blisters hurt, even just for daily life. So hopefully Mackenzie Gore can get that figured out. It doesn't sound serious whatsoever. It's a fingernail issue, but still, hopefully he'll be fine to go in tomorrow's game. But for now, you've got Patrick Corbin on the bump, who supports a 6.15 ERA on the season. But luckily for the Nationals, they go up against Casey Mize, who used to be a very big-time prospect, was the number 1 overall pick back in 2018, a big-time pitching prospect out of Auburn. But he has really struggled throughout his career so far, and in this season, he has struggled as well. Only 39 strikeouts in 59 innings pitched. He's got a 1.53 whip on the season. Now, luckily for him, he goes up against Patrick Corbin, where we don't really have to look at the stats. We all know Patrick Corbin, sometimes a blind squirrel finds a nut. Maybe that's today. Unfortunately for the Nationals, he kind of found one here recently against the Guardians. Does he find one again? I don't know. And again, you've used Hunter Harvey. You've used Kyle Finnegan back-to-back days. Your bullpen is relatively depleted. I saw someone tweet out the other day, this is going to be a house money game. I saw someone, I wish I could have the Twitter account right now to give him credit, but someone said, just start Nasim Nunez, just start your backup Billies, all these different things. And honestly, I don't blame him at this point, but it does kind of say the Nationals, you've won 5 straight games. You have the Marlins coming to your place tomorrow night for a 3-game set. Why not try to win today's game? Hopefully the offense can just carry this one, because I can tell you this, if you're counting on Patrick Corbin to go out there and shove, even against a not so great Tigers team that the Nationals have really taken advantage of over the last 2 games, I don't know what to tell you. I can't really sell you on fool's gold anymore with Patrick Corbin. We all know what to expect. You expect 4 earned runs in the first 3 innings. You expect him maybe to get some luck in the 5th. I don't know at this point, but the Nationals, you've got to deplete a bullpen. You're going to have a 3-game set going up against the Marlins these next few days. I don't know what the Nationals will do. I don't know how the Nationals will handle this, because if Patrick Corbin does get blown up, which is very likely considering the numbers on the season and what we have seen since the beginning of 2021, I don't know what to say. But I can tell you this, try to win 6 straight. And if you're going to win 6 straight, the offense, you're going to have to put up 10-plus runs. Now, luckily, you're going up against Casey Mize, who has struggled, but again, he is capable of shoving. Now, let's just hope it's not today against the Washington Nationals. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this game. Nationals, try to go for 6 straight. And maybe tomorrow you're tied for a wild card spot. Who knows? Baseball is a crazy sport. We'll have that discussion on tomorrow's show. And again, if you say playoffs, I say maybe.